Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Jamin's Daily. We have with us a special guest. You know him. He's been a guest before. The one and only Seth Kaler. Say hello, my friend.
Hello. I am a special guest.
You know, the funny thing about it is you're actually not a special guest. You're
I'm kind of a staple now.
Yeah, you're not. You're
All
the
right.
opposite of a special. Or I shouldn't even use the word special. You're just a guest.
I could be like Baba Booey to Howard Stern.
A regular.
Yes, a regular. There you
It's
go.
the regular.
Does what's his face have regulars? Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan's, I don't know. Yes, he used to more so in the past.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore, actually.
Yeah. Just guests
Because he's able to bring in anybody he wants at this point.
for sure.
When you don't have
Yeah.
enough
you
guests,
need a psychic.
Yes,
But then when you get the big names, it's just me. It's my show.
Exactly. If you can bring in whoever you want, then you're good. But you have regulars because it's hard to book people.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
how that works out.
That sounds about right.
Yes. But
we're on Jamin's Daily.
This is Jamin's Daily. This is going to be literally episode 100 and something, folks, because we've been doing this from humble beginnings, right, Seth?
That's right.
You were with me from the beginning when we just were.
And I'll say it every time you tell me this. You did it. I told you. You just have to keep doing it, and you did it.
I did it. And you are a big part of making this happen. And the reason for this episode, folks, is we're going to do a little bit of a preview and a little bit of some research before, because I've already watched the movie, and we're going to have an additional episode, folks at home, on James. No, not James. I keep saying James because I get him confused with James Cameron sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's John Carpenter. So John Carpenter's Vampire.
Ooh.
Dun dun dun.
Mufasa.
And this movie is hilarious, folks. Seth.
When you told me about it, I really thought it was like a 80s movie because you were kind of in that genre for a little while. But it's 1998.
Yeah, it's almost new millennia, And the reason why I like vampire stuff to a degree, I did an Ancient Alien, so I'm kind of into the
Occult?
the occult. Yeah, the unexplained.
Yes.
The unexplained.
Yes.
And
Unexplained.
but then when I saw James Woods, he's on my hero list.
Really?
Yes, because he's such a badass.
James Woods.
Yes, but in all kinds of ways, politically as well. Like he
Yeah.
speaks his mind. He's a badass.
Right.
Like in real life too.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he plays a badass.
Really?
But on Twitter, he's a badass.
You know, if you were to ask me about James Woods, you know what I would say? That I think of, like when I hear his name?
Family Guy.
Yes, and like Family Guy makes fun of him all the time or whatever.
But he's in on it. But he's in on it.
Yes.
And
he's
actually,
James Woods, middle school or whatever it is.
No, yeah, he's in on it. But the folk, how much of an impact do you have to have on somebody?
No,
to,
for sure.
Literally,
No, yeah, and he's been in a ton of stuff, right?
And Family Guy is huge.
Yeah.
So it just made him into
For sure.
He's a living meme.
Hey, if you can't laugh at yourself,
he's a living meme. Like he's a meme in real life.
Yeah.
Okay. RIL. He's a meme RIL. And in this movie, Seth, from the jump.
he's the main character.
He's the main character.
Okay.
And the setting, everything about it is slightly cheesy in a cool way. And that's why I wanted. So let's just get back to the genesis.
Okay, yes. Tell us about
the genesis of how this came about, Seth.
And we'll preface this by saying Jamin has seen this movie. I have not. So I'm going to chime in with tidbits from Wikipedia and stuff.
I put in about 12 hours into this movie. I've seen it several times.
It's his senior thesis.
I've seen it several times, like straight through, and then in edits, and so I've seen it quite a bit. And
yes, tell me about where it
the
starts.
genesis. It started, Seth.
Opening scene.
Well, no. Well, before this,
Oh.
the reason why I even watched this movie because it was on the just added on Netflix.
Yeah.
So I spend more time that I would like to even talk about just browsing, looking for things to watch.
Yeah, I know, me too.
So we talked about this before.
Yeah.
And I'm not special. I'm sure billions of people actually probably do this. And I came across this. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give this a try. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
James Woods, he's a badass.
It's way better than clicking through looking for other
No,
things.
I actually. So I decided to watch it. I watched it, and I was blown away because one of the cooler things about now that I'm an amateur film critic, right? as an amateur film critic, you really do start looking at things differently when you watch a movie. Saying, I'm not just going to enjoy this as a movie. I'm watching this to pick up random artistic elements to critique.
Okay.
And so when I was watching this, I'm like, this movie is like the critic said, this is spaghetti western.
Yes, it's
so bad it's good.
It says it's an independent neo-western horror film.
Is that what it is? So let's get into Seth. I'm gonna get into a scene where we can look at some of the information. So let's look at the wiki. Let's look at the wiki
All right.
on vampire. So this says a 1998 film, and it says in 1998 American independent. This is how it's described on Wikipedia, folks. At home, on the internet, which means, Seth, it must be what? True.
Yes,
it's true. It's on the internet. It's on the internet, folks. It's true. If it's on Wikipedia, I mean, you can just... Can't you just, like, copy and paste Wikipedia for your papers? And okay, so it's described as a 1998 American independent neo-Western horror film. Neo-Western horror film directed and scored by John Carpenter, starring James Woods. It was adapted by a novel, Vampires, by John Stakely. And this is one of the things I really need to look into, Seth, is that the book that it was adapted from, it's Vampires, but
there's a dollar sign.
There's a dollar sign on it. And I'm thinking, what the heck does that... That's a very odd, Seth, a very peculiar way of,
it was a 1990
composing.
horror novel. And it's a contemporary setting novel, concerns a company called Vampires. And I guess their logo has the dollar sign in there, too. Which treats vampire hunting as a commercial enterprise, funded by large payments from vampire potential victims and secretly supported from the highest level of the Roman Catholic Church.
Oh, well, that makes sense, because in this movie, they slightly... talk about that at one point. James Woods goes to visit a cardinal who ends up backstabbing him, okay? But they talk about funding and the Vatican and all this other stuff. So yes, this is
okay.
This is kind of
now we know the connection.
Now we know the connection. So James Woods stars as Jack Crow, the leader of a team of vampire hunters after his parents were murdered by vampires. Crow was raised by the Catholic Church to become their master slayer, and the plot is centered around Crow's effort to prevent a centuries-old cross from falling into the hands of John Valek, a reference to Valek, played by John Ian Griffin. Let's look at this. Let's look at the cast a little bit, Seth.
Okay.
So the cast is just John Ian Griffin, dude. His
name's Thomas. Actually.
Thomas. Oh, I said John.
Twice.
I'm trying to find.
On Wikipedia, just click on cast if you need some help. You're finding your way around.
Cast.
Finding your way around Wikipedia.
No, but I
Gladly help you.
I had the interact cast. There we go. So, folks at home, sorry for the delay, but we have James Woods as James as Jack Crow. But here we go. Thomas Ian Griffin. Let's look at this guy. His photo on the internet. He's kind of an old dude now.
Yeah.
He's got gray hair.
His best known role was in Karate Kid Part 3.
Oh, is that the guy? Was he the bad guy in Karate Kid?
No, he portrayed Terry Silver.
Yeah, he was a bad guy.
In Karate Kid Part 3, not...
Yeah, he was a bad dude.
Oh, okay. But yeah, he wasn't in the first two.
And he was, but he also...
And he's in Cobra Kai,
Cobra Kai, yeah. He was a bad guy. He was a big douchebag in that movie.
Yeah, Cobra Kai equals douchebag.
Well, I mean, you got to be kind of douchey to play a vampire too. Like this guy is like the main vampire.
Oh,
looking,
okay. He's
the
the number one?
He's the number. He's the original. So in the movie, folks,
Right.
this Thomas Ian Griffith, this guy plays the vampire, which is supposed to be the original vampire that the Catholic Church somehow created by, I don't know, doing some crazy stuff. All right.
Right.
And
so, like, in the way vampire works, right? He bit 3 people, they bit 3 more people, and it just exponentially became a bunch of vampires. But he's at the top of the pyramid, right?
yes, he's the original in this movie. And I'm having some technical difficulties. Now that I hit the interact and I go to Wikipedia, like I clicked from Yahoo, it took me to his Wikipedia page.
Yeah,
there's no back button.
There's no back button. Right click it. And is there a back?
There's not.
We figure this stuff out on the air.
On the air,
we don't
I
mess
mean,
around.
this is how, this is what we do. What? What's going on?
You need your phone to play music
Where?
outside. Because Papa wasn't on your Apple Music plan. You need to hook it up first.
No, that's cool. Here, you know how to do it, right?
Yeah.
Here, I'm already trying to get on. It should get up already. So the crazy thing about this is I literally have to close it and open up a whole new browser. Because there's nothing.
Right, it's not a regular browser.
Because if I was on Yahoo, I could hit the little Yahoo thing and it would take me back to the homepage.
Right.
There's nothing here to help me get back anywhere.
Dang it.
That's hilarious. Well, that's part of the production. We
There
should
you
have known this. I should have known before I hit that link. Amateur.
No worries.
It's all good.
Because we can still learn about the rest of the cast.
Let's just go into the vampire. So we're going back into the vampires. We'll get into exactly like you said. We'll look at these other people. So
Main cast.
So when I do this at the show, Jack Crow, the leader of it and stuff, he's a master slayer. The plot is centered on Crow's efforts to prevent this for the Valak guy. He's a bad guy. He's a powerful vampire, the original vampire. The film also stars Daniel Baldwin as Tony Montoya, Crow's friend and fellow hunter. Cheryl Lee as Katrina, a prostitute who has a psychic link to Valak after she's been bitten. Folks, I want to tell you a little bit, Seth.
Yeah.
An interesting thing about the way she was turned into a vampire in this movie, folks. So she was bitten. But she was bitten in a very provocative way.
Oh, my
Seth,
goodness.
So Seth, you said you have not seen this movie.
I have not seen this movie.
So when I say she was turned into a vampire in a very provocative way,
yes.
What does your dirty mind conjure up?
Her boob. She's bitten the boob. They bit her
Even
boob.
dirtier.
Oh, down south?
Like the Rio Grande Valley, my friend.
Wow. Really?
Yes. That's how Valak, that Thomas Ian Green, whatever that dude's name is.
Is this a scene in the movie?
The guy from Karate Kid 3?
Yes.
He turns her into a vampire by going down on her.
Wow.
And biting her.
And it's a scene in the
It's
movie?
a scene in the movie.
Wow. Now I gotta watch
but
it.
very, very, very tastefully.
Tastefully done. Of course.
Very,
of course.
very
Of course.
tastefully done.
Of course,
folks,
that's how-
artistic.
That's how-
I mean, it was a piece of art.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I was thinking the entire time. I think this is an artistic. This is like the freaking Godfather right here. Okay, folks. So this prostitute after she's been bitten, she has this link. That's part. They explain this in the movie.
Okay.
Then this guy named some other actor, Tim Gwynny, I guess his name is Gwynny.
Yep.
He's Father Adam Guteau or something like that. And that was one of my criticisms, that they give these characters hard to pronounce names.
Yes. Guiteau. It's like
Guiteau.
guitar, but it's guiteau.
It's not Guiteau.
Yes.
Guiteau. And then Maximilian Schell as Cardinal Alba, who is one of the main villains that you don't know about because he backstabs him at the end.
Yes.
So he's basically Jack Crow's boss and intermediary, his go-between between the Vatican and the vampire slayers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then they double cross him. He gets double crossed, folks. That what do you call it? That's a cliche. That's a movie element, isn't it? A story plot where you get double crossed.
Double crossed. Absolutely.
And we could read the wiki, but instead of doing the wiki, Seth, I'm just gonna.
I want to hear your
relive it.
take. Of
I'm gonna
this.
relive
I want
it.
to hear your take.
I'm gonna relive it as I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
So, the movie starts, Seth.
Yeah.
The folks need to know that this was produced by Storm King, or Stormy King, which
Okay.
is his wife. So his wife's production company.
James Woods?
No, not James Woods. John Carpenter.
Carpenter. Okay.
John
So
Carpenter's
it's a family affair.
John Carpenter's wife
Yeah.
produced the movie.
Excuse me.
So it's like right away after Columbia Pictures comes up, it says Storm Productions or some crap like that, right?
Okay.
And then me researching this enough, folks at home, I found out that was his wife, and she produces a bunch of his movies. So you keep it in. That's how the rich stay.
right.
That's how the rich stay rich. You keep it in the family, really, bro. So the movie starts where I was talking about this, how it's a vampire movie,
Right.
But the setting it's always well lit. Like
Right.
it's not
And
a
it
dark.
says neo-western. Is it like in a dusty western town?
It is. It's in
Okay.
the
Oh,
setting.
New Mexico. I
is-
saw that. It was filmed in New Mexico.
It's in New Mexico.
Las Cruces.
Las Cruces, New Mexico.
And Las Vegas, Santa Fe, all shot. Lots of movies shoot in New Mexico because they have really good tax breaks there. Anyways,
Yeah,
I digress.
and no, but that's a great point because one of the if you go to the wiki page or if you research and look into the making of this movie, budget cuts were a big part of how this movie was made and just how just the genesis of the movie and everything, right? So it was originally supposed to have a $60 million budget, but it got cut down to 20.
I see.
Originally, instead of Daniel Baldwin in the movie, Alec Baldwin was in the movie. He literally said, "I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Let my brother do it." And Daniel Baldwin allegedly didn't even audition. Okay, so
Well,
But he's one of my favorite
because, and from what I read too, John Carpenter wasn't the original. I mean, they kind of looked at him to do it, but Sam Raimi was there.
yes,
Peter Jackson of Lord of the Rings fame was looked at.
they must have thought really highly of the book or
I
the
guess
script.
so,
or
yeah.
If all these people were somewhat interested in it.
Right. And two other people were considered for the main role other than James Woods. Dolph Lundgren
Oh, Drago?
and William Dafoe
Okay.
were both eyed for
Defoe
the part.
could have played it. Dolph Lundgren,
Yeah.
freaking Drago would have brought a whole different element to
Yeah,
the
he doesn't
movie.
seem too Western.
No.
Yeah,
It would have been a
Defoe could
different
have pulled
movie.
it off, yeah.
Defoe, no doubt. Yeah. But James Woods, he's just a badass, man. The whole part of the there's so.
So let's get back to it.
So
Opening scene.
opening scene, they show up. You can tell this is a open space. This isn't in a city,
Okay.
gloomy, dark at night.
Right.
They're in wide open spaces in the desert. And James Woods pulls up and he's in this huge, like, tactical SWAT truck.
Nice.
And Daniel Baldwin pulls up next to him and he's in a pimped out Jeep, Wrangler, badass,
Yeah.
right? They both get out and then the scene is freaking James Woods. He's in his binoculars,
Scanning the horizon.
And then he's looking at this house, this house on the prairie.
Yeah.
Okay, Seth. It's
Yeah.
literally a house on the prairie. And then he zooms out, or he gets out, and Daniel Baldwin comes up to him. Oh, Daniel Baldwin's taking a piss, actually. And he goes in and he stands next to him, and that's when James Woods is like, "Looks like another New Mexican shithole." Or something. So you know right away it's in New Mexico.
Yep.
Seems like another New Mexican shithole.
Oh God.
And Daniel Baldwin, so they're discussing about how, oh, you think it's a den? Oh, there's vampires there. they say something. They got some intel that this is why they're there.
Okay.
They're not like fishing. Like they've been sent there because something has happened.
Yeah.
The vampires have been killing people or something.
Yeah.
And so they're there to put a stop to it, right?
And when I think of vampires, I think of New Mexico. No, I don't at all. But works because it's a neo-Western.
Exact. And you know the one thing how it also works too is in the Southwest, it's heavily like Hispanic and
Yep.
Catholic.
Yes.
That's the thing.
I got you.
It's very heavily Catholic in those areas, and so part of the movie is within a priest who comes in possession of an item, and he's like a Hispanic priest in the Southwest.
Yes.
And this is why the vampires are actually there. So it's not that New Mexico is special.
No, they're there to get that cross.
They're there to get across, and just happens to be there because it happened something to do with like some Spanish or whatever, folks. So James Woods, after surveilling, he tells Daniel Baldwin, let's go kick some ass. So they drive down to the scene. And I mentioned in my commentary because folks at home, I'm going to release actual movie watch where I'm opining on the movie as it's going on the entire time, okay? But as they're driving and this is one of the reasons why I chose this movie or John Carpenter because he also scores his own music, the movie, which is super impressive. Like the guy's got to be a genius. If you not only make the movie, direct the movie, then he scores the movie. He's really into like the synth, from Michael Myers or from Halloween. It's familiar to Dusk Till Dawn. Have you seen that movie? And it's very showdown-ish, like that movie too. Where there's always these little battle
Mexican
things.
standoffs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the music plays into that. They get there. Daniel Baldwin, James Woods hop out of the cars. They look around, and one of the funny things, Seth, is that they're carrying guns. And throughout the movie, dude, they total lack of trigger discipline. Like every time in every scene. And the cool thing about it is like now tactical because movies they're trying to be a little smarter about it. If you watch newer movies shot today, they try to be more realistic about how they're holding the weapons. In this movie, I swear to God, every time they're holding a gun, their finger is literally on the trigger. Okay, like when they're just walking around. Their finger is on the trigger. It's so retarded. Okay? It's legitimately retarded. Okay? And the other thing about it that's funny is that, so these are vampire slayers.
Right.
And they don't have freaking holsters for their guns. Okay? They're literally like Mexican sweating it, dude. Like just putting it in their holster. All right? Just there. And there's one scene where Tony Montoya, Daniel Baldwin, he's got the gun.
Say hello to my little friend.
He's literally. It's not like he's got a Glock. This is 19. He should have a Glock. He's got this giant because this is a movie. So like, let's give him this gigantic revolver.
Yes.
So he's got this huge Smith and Wesson. He puts it in the back of his pants, and then there's this scene, Seth, where he's bending over, and it looks like he's got a big old dick in his pants. Okay, because it's like sticking out. Like he's got the gigantic hemorrhoids or something. It's so stupid. And I'm like, dude, these are vampire slayers. They never heard of holsters? They never heard of gun holsters? What's going on here? What's up? 5689.
Thanks, sir.
All right. So this is the opening scene fight. And who are they fighting?
So in the opening scene when they enter the lair, we haven't even gotten to the funny part. They get to the lair. The scenes are hilarious. They barricade the door by punching a hole in it, and then James Woods. There's multiple parts in this movie, Seth, where James Woods proves he's a badass. Like the director says, we gotta make multiple parts in this movie where James Woods has to be a badass. And so this is the first one.
Well, if your wife's producing it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. She did. She made him look really big. So they cut the hole. Somebody's fixing to go in there. He's like, no, let me do it. Goes in there, movie magic. He puts his hand in. Granted, you have no idea what's on the other side of the door.
Right.
Sticks it. No, he has an idea. There's vampires on the other side of the door. He sticks his hand in. Lo and behold, folks at home, what's on the other side? The lock. He easily is able to unlock the door. Boom, they kick it open. Now they're in the vampire lair. They're moving around. Finally, vampires come out. There's a showdown. They're killing them and stuff. And one of the funny things, Seth, is that this is 1998, so there's such thing as like semi-automatic rifles, AR-15s and stuff. But these guys are armed with the most random firearms. And at first,
bolt action.
They do not have AKs or AR-15s. They have, again, like this revolvers, and they have automatic weapons, and they're shooting.
Yeah.
So they put that in there, but that's not what they're pressing like early on in the scenes, like in the imagery.
Yeah.
The imagery is of
High tech.
James Woods. No, he's got a freaking crossbow. And I'm thinking, why does he have a crossbow? This has got to be the dumbest thing ever.
You have to shoot him to the heart.
Yeah, not just that, but then it's like a fishing expedition. So you find out there's a movie. They shoot him with the crossbow, and then Montoya on the wrench on his Wrangler. They pull him out from the safety of the lair out into the sunlight where they burn.
Nice.
Yes, they chop their head off and they save their heads as souvenirs, dude. It's a scene. So in that scene, they kill nine vampires, Seth. And so there's like a compilation after that first fight scene. Then there's a compilation where they kill more, right? But then it segues and they're all there, kind of enjoying their hard day's work, and it shows all the vampire heads.
Nice.
And they count like 1, 2, 3, 4. But James Woods in the scene, Seth, he's kind of uneasy. So Daniel Baldwin asks him, he says, "What's the problem?" He's like, "Well, where's the master?" They didn't find the master.
Yeah.
You know, where's the master? And it's unlike the master to leave. They call them goons. The goons. To leave all his goons.
Right.
Oh, where's the master?
Yeah.
And so all the other vampire slayers are like, screw that, who cares? Let's go party. And
right.
So the scene ends.
Yes.
But as that happens, you see like, it's one of those like, dun, 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 like hands come up.
Yeah, okay.
And
so
go ahead.
Wikipedia states that while the team drunkenly celebrates with prostitutes at a local motel, the master vampire Valak arrives and bites one of the prostitutes, Katrina.
That's right.
So this is where the artful scene takes place?
The artful scene, yeah,
Okay.
man. And the segue to the motel scene is money, because it goes from, and I'm going to try to put it goes from these hands coming out of the ground, right, to, it says, the motel says Sun God Motel, and it's from a distance, and then as it zooms in, it shows two chicks walking up, and they're like they're half their ass is hanging out and stuff. It's fucking awesome.
That's where the prostitutes
Yes.
hang out.
So the prostitutes are showing up, and it's just a classic. That's the thing. It feels like a classic 80s scene,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's done in 1998, right?
Right.
So then they show up. The scene of they're at the party, but Valak ends up. The master ends up showing up. He the cool thing about this scene, Seth, is that one of the master slayers is like, we need to get more beer. So he opens the door, but when he opens the door to go get more beer, Valak, the original vampire, is standing right there in front of him.
Yeah.
And he gives him a karate chop down his body like this.
No way, does he
And
split him?
slits him in half.
Yes.
Dude. And the special effects, pretty money, man. It's not CGI. Like, they put a lot of effort into making this.
All right.
Animatronic. Well, however they did it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Nice.
Splits him in half, goes in, wrecks shop, kills everybody else. James Woods, there's a scene, Seth, where James Woods has to make a beeline towards his weapon, right? So he's standing across the room, and his crossbow is on the other side.
Uh-oh.
So he has to bail for it.
Yeah.
What's funny in the movie, I mean, it's, you know, we talk about continuity, I guess. This
Right.
could be the criticism, right? Like, there's some continuity problems sometimes because he bails for it and he jumps. And in the scene, he's like uncontrolled and he like tumbles over and he falls. But then it cuts away right away and he's got it in his hand and he shoots him. It's like, it made no sense. They should have made him more graceful going for it, grabbing it and then shoot it instead of him. I don't know. You have to watch it, folks at home. This is one of the really, you know, when you do the follow along or my, what do you call that? The watch party that we're going to do.
Watch party works.
There's so many different scenes like that. But he makes it out. Him and Daniel Montoya, they're the only one, they make it out. And the prostitute that got bit in the vajay. And that's how they turn her in. And the thing is, in this lore, in this vampire lore, it takes several days to turn.
Okay.
So whenever you get bit, you get several days.
Yeah.
So right away, Jack. Oh, the other thing is that Valak, during this battle, he calls out to Jack Crow. Says Jack.
Yeah.
Or no, I don't think he says Jack. I think he says Crow. And Jack Crow's like, how the fuck does he know my name? Right? And he doesn't know. Well, anyways, so when they bail, they're able to get away. Him and Montoya, they find the girl. She's kind of like wandering around. He takes her because he thinks he'll be able to use her somehow. I don't know. So they take her, and as they're driving away, Valak chases them, and it's a scene very reminiscent. Because remember, this is done in '98, so this is after Terminator 2. But there's a scene in Terminator 2 where the T-1000 chases them as Sarah Connor, as they're escaping the asylum. The T-1000 comes after them, and he's getting on the back of the car as they're driving away. And at some point, they're able to shoot him right in the face, and he falls off the car, and he rolls. Same thing. They do the same. It's the same cinematography, I guess, where it shows like for point of view, him like zooming in on the car, and then boom, the next scene he's there, and boom, Montoya shoots him in the head, and he falls off, right? But soon after, so you think they get away, right? You're like, oh, fuck, we got away, but no, they're so busy, I guess, recovering from the fact that they just got away from this vampire, that there was a car in front of them that was slowing down to take a turn, and he has to make an evasive move, wrecks it. So they wreck the car. They survive.
Okay.
And this is when the next scene cuts to where they're walking down the highway. And this leads to a very interesting point, Seth, or criticism of the movie. Apparently, some of the internet criticism of the movie is that they were unkind to Katrina. It's kind of toxic.
Vampire prostitute.
There's some toxic masculinity going on.
I'm sure there was.
It is the actual criticism,
Right?
Because they refer to her as some less than human at times. She's just some hooker,
Right?
And there's some funny scenes. I don't say funny, but some. It's funny actually when you read it this way. There's this that when they're walking away down the highway. It's funny in the sense that it's unnecessary.
Sure.
To the point. I can see how someone who's really critiquing it could be like, this. Maybe John Carpenter doesn't like women, right? And that's what somebody said as in the critique. There's this part where they're walking away and they just kind of abusing her, pushing her around. She's like, but what would actually probably really happen in real life? Like if you had this person who's kind of your prisoner and they're not moving around the way you want them to, you just push them.
Right, for sure.
This is what happens.
Especially if they're going to turn into a vampire in a couple
So
days.
they end up getting to a truck stop or and they carjack somebody. They make it to James Woods tells Daniel Baldwin to take her somewhere. He's got unfinished business. The unfinished business, Seth, is he's got to go back to the Sun God Motel. All those people were attacked. They're all going to be vampires, bro. They're all dead and been bit.
Right.
So they're just chilling there. So he goes back. And Daniel Baldwin, Montoya is trying to tell him, you shouldn't be doing this. In the movie, they reference rules. Oh, rule 2, rule 7.
Right.
Right. So there was rule number 10 says nobody does this and that. Right.
Right.
And
Like Zombieland.
I guess I know I've never seen Zombieland.
You've never seen Zombieland.
But there's rules.
Oh,
Never seen Zombieland. Was
oh
good.
yeah, double tap.
Okay.
You always got to double tap.
That's
Pow,
what
pow, you got to shoot him twice.
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, and,
I've
what's
heard of
his
it.
name?
I just never saw it. But so yeah, there's these rules.
Yep.
And James Woods is such a badass that he's like, the rules don't apply to me. This is something else. And so he leaves. Daniel Baldwin, Montoya is like, okay. He takes the chick and they go to some motel somewhere, right?
Right.
Some hotel somewhere. And the scene prior to Daniel Baldwin showing up with the hooker at the motel is James Woods back at the motel with all the dead people, and it's this, the music, and there's this compilation of him basically driving a stake in their hearts and cutting off their heads.
Nice.
All right, and the coolest thing about this is that you can tell there's a one shot scene.
Uh-huh.
There's some movies where you get one shot at this.
Right.
Because if you're blowing stuff up,
Yeah.
you can't just do it over and over again.
Right.
Okay. So in this scene, they blow up the motel.
Yep.
So you can tell it's probably some hollowed out Hollywood.
Yeah.
What do you call these things? The props or whatever. It's not this, but it shows after he stabbed them all and cut off all their heads. He's walking. There's a scene where he's putting all the kerosene.
Oh, he's
or
gonna
whatever.
burn them.
He's gonna light the whole thing on fire. Right.
Right.
So it shows all that, and then the scene cuts. He's walking out and he's walking, and you can tell this is the scene.
This explodes
This
behind
is the scene where he walks and it explodes behind him.
Yes.
But you can, from the actual footage itself,
Yes.
and you see James Wood walking, you can tell as he's walking, his butthole is like this, dude. You can just tell because as he's walking, you could just see the tenseness.
He flinches.
Like he's waiting for that thing to blow, and it does. And he plays it off, but it's pretty epic.
Hard to walk away from an explosion.
He's walking away from an explosion, and talk about. That's why James Woods is a badass too. Though. You talk about balls. That's how accidents happen. They literally blew up something. Something could have flown. Something could have flown.
Movie magic, man.
There could have been some debris that hit him in the head or something. And he does that as he's walking away. He slightly flinches.
Yeah.
He goes like this. He goes. He does, no doubt. He flinched, but it was still badass enough. So, at that point, Montoya is at the hotel with the hooker.
Yep.
She's starting to have this link with the vampire because apparently the victims have a link.
Okay.
That's why they took her because they need to find a way to find him.
Yeah.
James Woods. After that scene, I told you how there's multiple scenes in which they try to make him a badass. So after that scene, he goes to a payphone. That goes to show how old he literally makes a phone call with a payphone.
Yeah.
Folks. There's a scene where he's calling people through a payphone.
For sure.
I mean, and he's calling the Vatican. He's saying
The Vatican.
He's calling the Vatican.
From New Mexico.
So the next scene then cuts to him. He's like in some room, and there's some priestly person standing over him, and they're tending they're basically stitching his arm up, and he's just the music's like dun dun, and he's just staring, looking into this intensity, and they're sewing him up, and he's not even moving, and it's just like So the next scene after that is him showing up to talk to that Cardinal Alba, and as he shows up, there are guards there. They try to frisk him, and when they reach for his gun, boom! He grabs the guy's hand, and it's like a big, tall black dude, like 6 inches taller than him. All right, and the guy reaches for him. He grabs his arm and goes, "I don't think so." Literally, he's like, "I don't think so," and the guy's like, "Okay, you're good," and he just walks off. Right.
Yeah.
So there's just all these different times where they're just trying to drill. They're driving home the fact that this guy takes no shit from nobody.
Yeah.
Right. So he shows up. He goes in. He talks to Cardinal Alba, and that's where he meets the father, Guinana. What's his name?
Gito.
He meets Father Gito,
Yes.
who's the expert in the Black Cross, the origins of Valak and vampirism.
See.
Okay, and so this is all news to James Woods, because James Woods, the only thing he's kind of really good at or really in tune with is kicking ass and taking names.
Hey,
I feel like,
when you're hunting vampires, that's pretty much all that matters.
right? So I think he's more concerned about that. And so they bring in the priest to add some knowledge to the story. I feel like that's his role. Like he's talking. That's how
The wise.
That's how they move the narrative along in the story. He brings in, he's talking about this and
Backstory.
that. Yes. So that scene where James Woods, Jack Crow, goes to visit Cardinal Alba and Father Gito is a big part. It really brings. It's about a 5-minute scene where they're talking about stuff, but it really puts a lot of things together. And so the Vatican wants. So James Woods is the only Slayer to have encountered Valak and lived.
Ooh.
Because apparently during the scene, James Woods is given the news that one of there's multiple vampire slayer units, I guess, throughout the world. Some other European vampire team
got wiped
out by him. Exactly. So apparently he's under orders to regroup, to rebuild his vampire team, because they're all dead except for him and Montoya. So he's under orders to regroup and then to attack Valak when they're full strength, right?
Okay.
But James Woods, Jack Crow, he's too much of a badass for that.
Right.
He's like, I'm not gonna wait. I'm just gonna go. I can do this by myself, Rambo style.
Right.
So that's what he does. But as he's trying to leave, and this is, I wonder what you call this. This is a common theme, or this is a common. It's not. Is it a ploy in movies and in storytelling? They say the hero has to go, but somebody has to go with him. So James Woods has to. Jack Crow's got to leave, but they got the priest, Father Gito.
Yes.
Has to go with him
To make sure he gets done.
And in the scene, Jack Crow, James Woods is like, no, because he's like the typical. I fight my own battles. I don't need any help. I do this alone.
Right.
But that's when Dr. Cardinal Alba tells him about his funding. If he doesn't go with you, we're gonna take all your money. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I know you got something on your other.
what is this? Look at that.
I know. There you go. You got it. You know what it was? Spices from Wings. No, I don't know.
But don't you agree that this is a common? Is it
There's always
There's like a theme of somebody
Sure.
having to go. So they send the priest with him. He doesn't want him to go with him. There's a scene where they're in the truck, and again, this is another like fill in like story plot device where they're moving the narrative, moving the plot forward. He's telling them about the cross and the church and this and that. And so at one point he tells James Wood, Jack Crow, that he can if he ever wants to ask for repent, because he's a church. And they stop. He stops the car. He takes him out and literally just beats him up. It's like a throwaway scene. It's again another scene. It's like James Wood says, "Listen, we gotta find."
He beats up the priest?
Yes, he stops the car. He gets out, grabs the priest, throws him out of the car, beats him up, and says he accuses him of setting him up, and is basically telling him, "Stop talking to me. I don't want you here."
Yeah.
And then the scene starts again with them in the car. But again, I feel like it's just a scene to show demonstrate how much of a badass he is.
Yeah.
He takes no shit from nobody. Okay, and it's because he's been a vampire slayer since birth. His parents were murdered by vampires. He was raised by the Catholic Church to be a vampire slayer.
Right.
So he's just hardcore like that. And after that scene, we get to Seth, the hotel where Daniel Baldwin.
They go back to the hotel. The
Well,
Sun God Motel.
No. This is where Daniel Baldwin took the hooker.
I see.
Remember, he's like, "Hey, you need to
Yes.
take her somewhere."
Right.
So now they're there. She's perfect 80s fashion. That scene, guess she's there in the bed, and guess what she is? Guess she's laying in a bed. What, Seth?
Naked.
Naked.
Of course.
Yes.
So Montoya was.
Well, he didn't want to take any chances. I guess he wanted to see if he had been bitten anywhere or
Oh,
what.
I thought he was getting lucky or something.
No. But he does fall in love with her.
Because she just lays around naked.
So yeah, I guess he addresses her to a degree, and
Yeah.
he has her like tied to the bed. Again, there's some critics who say this is kind of creepy, but in the scene, he goes up to her and he tries to explain to her what's going on. You've been bitten by a vampire. You're gonna turn to So he's actually, if you watch the movie, looking after her
Yeah.
in a lot of ways and taking care of her. And while he's in the motel with her, she ends up linking up with Valak.
Okay.
So that's a big part of the movie too. Where they can the victim can link into the vampire.
Yes.
And so she sees these visions, and so Valak is able to find the Black Cross by finding. Apparently, there was a priest who had it, and so somehow it had been hidden in the Southwest. The church, the Vatican didn't even know where it was, but Valak has found it. Okay, so because of that, they're like, "Listen, dude, we gotta stop him."
Does it give him superpowers, or he can
Well, no,
end
we
the
don't even know.
world or something? Like,
Yes,
we don't know.
We
what
don't
he can-
even know.
Oh,
Yeah,
we don't even know.
exactly,
It's just
exactly.
powerful.
It's just this. Yes,
Okay.
and in order for it to for the power to really to summon the power, they have to do this ritual. Okay.
The vampires.
The
Okay.
vampire Valak.
Yeah.
You find out Cardinal Alba ends up coming out, and you find out he's a Two-Face.
Ooh.
Because doing apparently, if they do this
Ritual.
Valak will become a daywalker.
Oh.
And he'll be like a god,
Okay.
and he'll be able to grant like immortality to people or whatever. So that's how Cardinal Alba gets enticed to join.
Swayed to the dark side. Yes.
Exactly, set the dark side. And what's up?
Papa wants his money. Sorry, I keep asking you about
Papa wants what?
his money. His money.
I can give him his money anytime, and he's asking for it now. I'm busy. Okay, well, tell him I'll give it to him.
that?
It's in my wallet. I'll go get it to him in a little bit.
Well, he wants it now.
Okay, I'll go
He
get
said he gives it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay. Give me a minute. We're almost done. I'll give it to you.
All right. Yeah, because we're gonna wrap it up. Because
We're
I
wrapping
gotta
up.
go get around.
Yeah. No. So we gotta wrap it up. So Seth, really, that part where they do a lot of the explaining is really a lot of the meat and the potatoes, because after
Yeah.
that, they find out, okay, well, we got to fight Valak and his other masters, because apparently Valak rings up some other masters. They meet and they do this big old showdown where Crow and Montoya and Pastor the priest guy, they kill a bunch of vampires, but at the same time they James Woods gets captured at some point by Valak. They put him in a cross. They're fixing to do the ritual, but and Alba, Cardinal Alba, is doing some kind of ritual thing.
Yeah.
But then the other priest guy shoots him dead.
Ooh.
So the only way to continue to do the ritual is for the guy who shot him, that priest, to fill in, but he doesn't want to do it. So the sun comes up and there's this big battle royale and James Woods is able to kill Valak with the Black Cross, impaling him and stabbing him, right? And you think that's it. But no, Valak's pulling it out. And as he's pulling it out, and he's like, I'm going to kill you. James Woods looks up, and they're in this like room, this warehouse. And it's kind of like crickety crack. And
it's sunlight outside.
Exactly. He runs into like freaking Samson or some shit. Like, just runs into a column, right? That just knocks down the ceiling roof. And the sun comes in, shines on Valak, and he, like all vampires,
Melts.
turns into dust.
Wow.
And that's how the movie.
Do.
Real quick. So Montoya and his girlfriend, they're vampires almost at this point.
Oh yeah.
And so this is part of one of the scenes, the main scenes at the end is that James Woods, Jack Crow lets him go. He gives him he goes, you got 2 days. I'm gonna hunt you down, like real, like hardcore, right? Like, and they hug each other like they love each other,
right.
buddies. But I'm gonna hunt you down. I'm gonna give you 2 days for you and your girl to leave. We're gonna come get you. And it ends with him and the priest kind of walking off, like the Odd Couple, and then it ends, right?
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I do kind of say that I do kind of want to watch this movie now just to see.
I think folks at home, if you listen to this podcast, you're gonna think, wow, I need to watch this movie because this guy just set it up.
Yeah.
I just teed it up. I just set it up. Now it's time to tee it off.
Exactly. Brought 2 other movies to my mind that I am going to challenge you to watch.
Okay.
You got to watch Zombieland now. I think you would totally love it, and you could probably do a whole show on it.
Okay.
It's really pretty good. I liked it. The second one, you're talking about continuous scenes and shots. Have you seen 1917?
1917.
Yeah, World War I movie.
I heard of it.
Yeah,
Never seen it.
first hour and 6 minutes is one shot.
What?
Yep. One camera running through the whole thing. It's amazing. It's a great movie. So check it out.
How do you even accomplish something like that?
Lots of planning. I was reading up on it.
Okay, that's insane. Okay, well, cool. Now, 1917
In Zombieland.
in Zombieland.
But I do want to watch John Carpenter's The Vampires.
And then after you watch it,
It's not even The Vampires, is it? It's just
vampires.
Vampires.
So the movie itself is just called Vampires.
Oh yeah, it's not even,
But
yeah.
it's
they
called
throw
John
Carpenter because his name would sell more
Help
tickets.
sell it. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I saw the final budget was $20 million. It made $20 million in the States, but then he said, "Oh, we pulled in tons overseas."
In Japan,
and
apparently.
then when it went to DVD and whatever, they made another $42 million. So they made money on it, but. Yeah.
Listen, we're talking about it 20 years later.
Exactly.
25 years later. Apparently, one of the things on the internet, too, and they kind of clown him on, is that this was the last movie that he actually made money on. Because he's made some other movies since, and
Really?
they have not been real successful.
Really?
But like I said, if he broke even
Yeah.
in domestic,
Yep.
not counting in everything else, no doubt they made a lot of money.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, they had to.
Listen, the people, like, they're probably just getting this, like, this is a joke in Family Guy. It's like, there are people in certain places that are watching this for the first time. Like, this is new.
Yeah, I know. Right?
Like, wow,
Exactly.
this is the greatest thing ever. All right, so,
Exactly.
folks, hey, thanks for joining me, Seth, my co-producer, executive extraordinaire. Thanks for joining me. It's been
was
too
fun.
long. It's been a little too long. When was the last time we did this? A month ago?
Yeah.
Probably a month ago.
Yep. We'll do more.
Folks, thanks for listening in on this little preview and deep dive and just all around talk about
Yeah.
John Carpenter's Vampire. Stay tuned for an episode in which we're actually going to watch the entire movie, folks. So until then, stick with me because the best is yet to come.
Woo.